1994. Capcom releases X-Men Children of the Atom, an X-Men Street Fighter-like fighting game, with Akuma being playable in a 13-character roster. 1995. Marvel Superheroes, a 12-character roster, with the final boss being Thanos. Now both games have had a 1v1 system, and the next logical step would be to take it 2v2 in X-Men vs. Street Fighter in 1996, an 18-playable roster, with Apocalypse as the final boss. But now, in 1997, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, another 18-character roster, but introducing Assist. This is where we know we have something special on our hands. 1998, Marvel vs. Capcom, Clash of Superheroes, a 17-character roster, with Onslaught being the final boss. And then, 2 years later, one of the greatest fighting games of all time, if not the greatest, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 releases, New Age of Heroes. But then 11 years come to pass, and we finally get the destined sequel to that greatness, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, a worthy sequel, and the next evolution in the step for the series. Add that with Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and you have the game in its most perfected state. Another 6 years come to pass, and darkness clouds the series with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. In 2017, this seemingly seems like the end of our story. A legacy of video game history and a legendary series seemingly shut down because of one very shitty game. And the question is, can Capcom and Marvel work together once more to make an unlikely comeback? Let's find out. The game that will make the unlikely comeback, Marvel vs. Capcom 4. I think it's coming out this year, boys. It's happening. It's finally gonna happen. We're gonna get that game. Now, what can happen in Marvel vs. Capcom 4? But before we can get into those concepts, I like to talk about its chances and give a scenario. Okay, let's be real. We don't need to do that shit for this stage or this video. We know what's gonna happen, and we're gonna give chances in a scenario for Marvel vs. Capcom. You really think that they're gonna let this shit slide? Let Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite slide? Let a game ruin the entire series legacy that they had, a partnership that they had? Now, maybe on a video in the past, I may have said that Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite could have hurt the relationship between Marvel and Capcom and Disney, because the game was so shit, and honestly, it just wasn't funded properly, and there's just so many aspects of it that it wasn't really there, except for the gameplay, which I always will say was very fun. This game's kind of fun, man. I'm not gonna lie, I like the gameplay of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I like the return to 2v2, but of course, not as much as I like 3v3, or maybe more than that, but I feel like it was nice to break a pace, or could have been, if it wasn't so shit in other areas of the game. Seriously though, do I even have to talk about how confident I am and the next versus Capcom title being Marvel vs. Capcom 4? It's gotta be it. Gotta be. I'm giving it a 90% chance of happening this year. And some leaks and rumors actually say that it's gonna be for next-gen consoles. If that's true, that's a one hell of a way to incentivize people to go get some next-gen consoles. Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 having Marvel vs. Capcom 4 exclusively? Yeah, I'm getting that shit, no doubt. I think without further ado, I would like to get into what Marvel vs. Capcom 4 can do to improve over Infinite, of course, and Part 3. Let's go. Usually in the silver stage, before I move on to the concept itself, I like you, the viewers, to understand where I'm coming from and why I've chosen the developer at hand, or what I think the art style might be. In this case, what I think the art style might be, or should be, in Marvel vs. Capcom 4. Now I'm showing gameplay of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and Marvel vs. Capcom 3 simultaneously for a reason. I want to mix their art styles together. And first, before I explain how I'm going to mix them, I want to kind of showcase and talk about their strengths and weaknesses. Now, for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, it's been called soulless for many good reasons. For example, in Captain America's moveset, he has many references to the MCU. And that combined with the realistic art style of the game, it can give you a very corporate meddling feel throughout the entire game. Marvel vs. Capcom 3's art style is definitely an interesting one, more interesting than Infinite's, for the very reason that it's a comic book based art style that may or may not be based off this Green Goblin picture that I found here. But I'm using this Green Goblin picture because I want to try to explain the mixing of these two art styles. So, the goal is to create a dark comic book aesthetic, right? So, I want you to take the color contrast of the Green Goblin cover here, and the artist and what he has achieved in color here, and possibly in shading. But when it comes to the detail work, I want you to take a look at this artist representation of this Captain America here, and how gritty he looks. That grittiness and that shading is very important with the brightness of that Green Goblin. But I want you to take the personality of the picture on the right and what the artist here has done with Dr. Doom, Emma Frost, and Namor here. And I think that's Norman Osborn in the back of that picture too. Sorry for my understanding of these artists at the moment. I just found these pictures without the artist on. I mean, there's a signature on the Captain America one, but I can't exactly recognize it. But the whole point of me showing you these panels is I want you to mix all these together, and I feel like once you do that, you're mixing Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite gameplay, art style, and 3's art style, and I think you get that dark comic book aesthetic. I really hope you understand where I'm coming from when it comes to that. And with that being said, let's finally enter disc and enter the game.
Marvel vs. Capcom 4 Ultimate War of Heroes.
Whoa, now wait a minute, Shintone, that name kinda cringe as fuck. Listen up here, Skippy. This name had to be a little bit cringe, a little bit corny. Take a look at the past titles. Fate of Two Worlds, New Age of Heroes, Clash of Superheroes. It had to be something with of and heroes in it. Maybe even world. Or some type of a clash. Which is why I opted for the name War of Heroes. And added Ultimate to it. Because, well, honestly, why not? But I think War of Heroes might be a better fit, to be honest. Either way, that's the title screen. Let's head to the menu. One thing they should definitely do is bring back the comic book page turning menu that they kind of had in Marvel vs. Capcom. Well, not kind of, but Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Instead, go for a more classic looking comic book, like what you're seeing here. But that's up to them. Other than that, we have a lot to talk about here. We have the versus mode, which is the standard versus options, 1v1, 2v2, arcade mode, battle, party battle. Wait a minute, party battle. What's going on here? What's going on with these 4 characters here? Don't tell me, Shintone. Is this gonna be a 4v4 game? I think the next natural step in Marvel vs. Capcom 4's, or Marvel vs. Capcom's evolution, is to go 4v4. And what better way to go 4v4 in the Marvel vs. Capcom 4? You know, we've done 3v3, we've done 2v2 multiple times. We're ready for the chaos. I call it 4v4 chaos. Chaos 4v4. Which brings me to the casual mode of the game, war mode. So what's that all about? Could be capture the flag type of mode or capture the stage. Basically, you and a team of friends, rather than party mode, or each of them have their own team, will face other aviate. Let's just say that will face against each other and see who captures the most stages, and like a tournament-like way or not. Either way, when your team wins, you win the war mode. Now, this can also be done in other ways, but that's just the central idea. Definitely something that needs to be thought about a little bit more and play tested. Tell me what you think about that in the comment section below. You got online battles. I don't think I need to explain what could be in there. Story mode could be King the Conqueror and maybe give us an excuse to face Onslaught and Apocalypse again in beautiful 3D. That's the menu. Come on. It's time to talk about the roster. So, let's do that. Yeah. Okay, I'm off beat here. But let's talk about the essentials here. Let's get these motherfuckers out the way, shall we? Captain America, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Hulk, Chun-Li, and Ryu are the most essential characters and should be expected no matter what. And I skipped Wolverine for a reason, because apparently we all thought that, but he wasn't an Infinite, so fuck that notion. But Wolverine's definitely gonna have to be in this no matter what. They don't have the balls to put him as DLC, and they better not put him as DLC. It's fucking Wolverine. If they want to redeem themselves and make that unlikely comeback, he has to be on this roster. And with that, we have the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters of the game. It's going to be a short roster, isn't it? I don't think so. So, where do we continue off now? With the Marvel side or the Capcom side? Who should we add? Whew. Tough decisions were made. So we're going to start off with these characters. Yes, the return of Storm. Now, Storm... Cyclops. Oh yeah. He has been playable since Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Much needed return. Magneto. We gotta have Magnus. Mag-fucking-Neto. We gotta have him. Scarlet Witch, I think, is a given, and will be our first newcomer that we have on our roster here today. Wait a minute. Yeah, first one right now at this moment. Now we have Deadpool. Great additions. Let's talk about the interesting already Capcom side of things. We have Sean, Arsene from Street Fighter 3. That's interesting. You would think that Laura would be on this list instead of him. Well, maybe we're not done with the roster just yet. Let's just say that. Along with Sean as the second Hado representation, I guess you could say, as a Shoto character. Yeah, I think he could bring something very interesting to a Marvel vs. Capcom setting. When you really look at his moveset, we have the return of M. Bison, Jiri, being a very new pick to this, along with Sean, to the Marvel vs. Capcom world. The return of Morrigan is an instant. Of course, you need Morrigan in a Marvel vs. Capcom game. And the fated return of Ruby Hart. I think she definitely should return, maybe with a couple new moves. And Chris Redfield. So far, I'm feeling like people might like the Capcom side of things a bit more, but I know some of you are definitely liking Marvel side. But let's expand the roster even further. Let's go to the Marvel side of things real quick. Now, if you didn't get the theme, I've decided the theme of this roster should be team-based. So that means adding X-Men, adding Avengers like the Black Widow, the return of her from Marvel's Capcom Infinite debut, Hawkeye, Thor, and Black Panther, along with Captain Marvel. Boo! You know she's gonna be in. Come on, we gotta be a little bit realistic here. That's a team right there. As far as the Capcom side goes, we gotta have the rest of the Resident Evil side. I'm thinking that Jill might return to her former self instead of being her Resident Evil 5 mind-controlled self that she was in Marvel's Capcom 3. We have Wesker, and of course another newcomer here, Leon S. fucking Kennedy, and Nemesis. A return of Nemesis. That at that point, that's about 5 Resident Evil characters. Why not 6? That's because we're adding Regina from Dino Crisis in this motherfucker as well. It's about time she gets in this game. She'll be another star, good pick that I know a lot of people will enjoy, especially if she might get a remake coming rather soon, maybe, possibly. You never know. And along with Asura from Asura's Wrath. He gotta be in this mofo, man. You gotta have some gods versus gods, which is doing this game. And of course, Rogue from Power Stone. That's right, Rogue, the girl character from that game. Not Captain Falcon or whatever this freaking name is. Just Rogue or Rogue. I think she's a good pick. Now, it came to my surprise. I have to throw some shade here right now before we talk about these characters. Actually, yeah, real quick. That before I made this video, I kind of already had the roster decided and everything. That there's one person that took out Chun-Li and Thor out of the roster. What the fuck? It really goes to show you that some people really don't know how to make a fucking roster. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I just wanted to say that real quick. That just made no fucking sense to me. I mean, they're obvious choices within this next game. Come on now. But what's not so obvious is the Fantastic Four being here. You saw this shit coming. Come on now. If we're going to have a 4v4 game, what better debut for the Fantastic Four to be in the Marvel vs. Capcom game? You have to have them all in there. They might represent some of what Super Scroll already had of them, which, you know, is going to be what it is, but they have to be in here, no matter what. That's 4 brand new characters, and they're all from the Fantastic Four. Whew, that's interesting. Of course, Dr. Doom has to be in with them. So finally, we can have some Fantastic Four stuff going on. Now, on the Devil May Cry side of things, we have Nero. His Devil May Cry 5 iteration, obviously. And I think that goes for everybody else here, including Trish, Virgil, and Dante. So we definitely got the top tiers of Marvel vs. Capcom 3 in here. Dr. Doom and Virgil. Will they be as top tier? Possibly, maybe. Hopefully, most likely not. Because we're going to talk about the gameplay. And since we have a team-based roster, I decided to throw some pretty rare picks in here that people may not have considered. But we're going to start off with the Marvel side with the obvious Guardians of the Galaxy. I've added 3 characters here. Star-Lord, which is a brand new character to this game. Gamora returns from Infinite and Rocket Raccoon with Groot. That's his version that comes from Infinite as well. Doctor Strange, which is not a Guardians of the Galaxy character, but he's going to be in. Come on, it's Doctor Strange. He has way too much of an interesting moveset to leave out of this game. We'll be back to those characters in a second. I have to talk about the Red Earth characters. Leo, Tessa, Kenji, and Mei Ling. Come on now. Just like the Fantastic Four, you gotta add these 4 characters in. why not? It's a 4v4 game. It's a team-based deciding. So adding these characters in is just a great point to put them in. They have such interesting gameplay styles too, and they're very different characters. So really interesting stuff here. I'm thinking that for me personally, I'm liking the Capcom side a lot more than the Marvel side, because the Marvel side might be a bit more straightforward. And I'm hoping you're liking the Capcom side a bit more. But it's time for us to decide the rest of the roster at this point. And we're going to have to release all of them for a whopping 29 on each side. If my math is correct, that means that the base roster, I'm going to have you call this the first 29 on both sides, by the way, at this moment in time. That means for the base roster, it's going to be 58 characters guaranteed. And that's where I think it should be 58 characters higher than Marvel vs. Capcom 2 has to be. Let's talk about Marvel's side a little bit here. I've added Venom. I think leaving out Venom again after people highly requested him. I think if you leave him off the roster, him just being an Infinite is just a waste. Bring him back, and plus he has another movie coming up. Why not? A very interesting pick here. I've chosen Squirrel Girl. Now she started off with a cult following and became more of a much more likable character, and nowadays the Marvel Comics character, more known anyway. And then now Marvel Comics, we got Loki. I got the return of my boy Ghost Rider, Green Goblin finally, and on the Capcom side we got of course Mega Man X, Zero, Sigma return, Samusuke from Onimusha, particularly the Tenkai version, June from Star Gladiator, and Donovan, another Darkstalkers character. Now, if you probably noticed, I switched out the Fantastic Four with Iron Fist, Daredevil, Luke Cage, and Wasp as an alternative choice if they don't choose the Fantastic Four for some dumb reason in a 4v4 game. Iron Fist returns, but I know people will love Daredevil and Luke Cage. Not to mention having a Heroes for Hire team of Iron Fist and Luke Cage sounds pretty good. And having a Wasp, as I think Wasp would be an interesting choice. And where does that leave us now? With 39 on each side, and you know what? I want to touch on something real quick. I just mentioned something of an alternate character, and I have a feeling there's more than one way that Capcom can surprise us with characters. Maybe even guest characters. Guest representation characters. I hope some of you are getting what I come at here. Now, this may come as a surprise to you that I'm bringing up these characters today. And if you couldn't hear the theme by now of who these characters might be, as a guest characters, as a guest representation for the Capcom side, Jotaro and Dio. Now, before you get angry at me, let me explain something here. I've known people, and I've talked to people, who first got introduced to JoJo through Capcom's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fighting game, and actually thought that they were Capcom characters for a while before they figured out they were based off the manga. Now, yes, Capcom would have to get the licenses to the JoJo characters, but I think it would make one of the biggest surprises in this game and really achieve a lot of things. The first manga versus comic book thing officially. And for them to be guest Capcom reps makes all the sense. And Capcom personally has shown us they haven't forgotten about their JoJo's Bizarre Adventure creations, with their own movesets being referenced in Sev's moveset in Street Fighter V. You should go check that out probably as soon as you're done with this video if you don't believe me. And if you're not familiar with that, having them in would surprise the shit out of people. It would surprise me. I didn't even consider them until I thought, holy shit. I'm thinking about surprises. Nobody would suspect Jotaro and Dio to be in this game at all as guest Capcom reps. Imagine, even in gameplay, imagine what they could do. Amazing stuff. Yes, I replaced Donovan and a Power Stone character. And it kind of sucks to say that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure character kind of has more of a chance than the Power Stone character in this game. It kind of probably is the case, but just imagine that. Yes, they'll have to get the licenses to JoJo and Marvel and kind of keep them for years. It sounds like a really weird thing, but Capcom created the fighting game for many years ago, and it's been in the minds as a Capcom rep. Even though they weren't, they'd be a great fit for this game. Unlike Darth Vader there, that I put there just to piss you guys off. We definitely don't want any Star Wars characters for the Marvel side. I think it's time for us to talk about the extra 5 characters on the roster that I've chosen. Now, adding 5 to each roster means there'll be 34 characters on each side, bringing the total up to 68 characters. And the 5 extra I've chosen on each side is Miss Marvel, Blade, She-Hulk, Punisher, Hela, Oni, Frank West, Monster Hunter, Baldo, or Skirin, and Deus. Now, there's a reason why I kind of want She-Hulk to be in this game. And specifically, as part of the extra 5 characters. Let's just say, I want She-Hulk to keep her promise to Deadpool. Looky here. Reminder.
If there's ever an NBC4, I'll destroy you there too, Wade.
Yeah. I want that to happen too. Let's talk about the DLC characters here. Usually I talk about the DC characters at the gold stage, but I'm making a special case for this video. Now, yes, the total roster combined with the 5 extra characters I put as possible unlockables will bring the characters 12 characters higher than Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Yeah, that's nuts. And combined with these characters, it seems a bit unrealistic. However, I'm going to go through the DLC characters I think should make it in the game. Cable has to be one, especially with Deadpool on the roster, and he's a returning Marvel vs. Capcom 2 favorite for obvious reasons. Mandarin, he has an upcoming movie coming up. Elektra, you can easily replace her with Deadpool. I mean, not Deadpool, Daredevil if you really want to, but I think should be an interesting choice. Jean Grey to complete the X-Men, I guess, the essential leaders. Valkyrie to complete the Defenders, another Thor rep. Jack to complete the Resident Evil 7 representation. Kurosawa from Alien vs. Predator. She's a requested character. Laura, I kind of have spoken about her a little bit. She being a DLC character is a bit iffy. She could be easily in base roster. Replace Jury, even Sean himself. Vile as a Mega Man X rep. And Saki. Now there's a reason these normal and special styles on the roster here, by the roster. It's because I want to show you guys an alternative thing they can add inside the game to make it stand out amongst the rest. Now, with that being said, I don't imagine this feature with 68 characters in the game. Hell no. I say with the 29 original base characters we've chosen, I would imagine a little bit better. Normal styles and special styles, having the ability to choose different versions of the character. Now this is iffy, really iffy, but please indulge me here for a second as I explain them. Now for Captain America, there's tons of options. You can have a World War II option, so these will pretty much be special skins, but nothing changes about the moveset. So basically it's a way to add War Machine, World War II Captain America, except with these special styles, you can actually add that character to your team. So basically, you could choose 3 Iron Mans with essentially the same moveset, besides 1 or 2 different supers. For example, if you want to have a team of 4 Iron Man, War Machine, Rescue, and Iron Patriot, the Norman Osborn version, which we already had a costume of in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, you could, because they're all special styles. But you can't have a normal style be in with the character because it's just an extension. There's like a few differences, maybe an AK-47 and a World War II look, but it's not a different character like U.S. Agent is in Red Guardian. Now, U.S. Agent did make an appearance in Marvel vs. Capcom series before, so this could be a nice way to make a callback to because this kind of feature of having the same character but playable in the same team twice isn't exactly new to Marvel vs. Capcom series, or the vs. Capcom series in general, as has been shown in Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter and whatnot. With U.S. Agent and Captain America, and adding Red Guardian is an obvious other one. Now, obviously, these will have different voice actors as well, so you could probably understand how costly this will be and iffy. You see female Thor, Beta Ray Bill, with like probably a different super or something, which this is what I imagine. Like I said, this is a bit iffy. As you can see, this is an original draft of my roster because I have Thanos on the roster. I didn't include Thanos on the final build of this roster because I thought we're kind of fucking tired of Thanos, so I took him off. I also had Juggernaut on this roster as well, which I still would want on the roster. Now I was considering replacing Cable in the DLC option. Obviously, he could still get into the game, no doubt. We have an alternate normal style, Miss Marvel, which she already had the Warbird costume in Marvel's Capcom Infinite. Deadpool has Gwenpool, which Gwenpool herself could be an alternate character, a separate character in this game as well. But I think that she'll be an alternate version of Deadpool is much more likely, and it could be an inside joke about that too with that character if you know the history of Gwenpool at least a little bit. Now, like I said, having references to other Marvel vs. Capcom games, like having a Bone Claw Wolverine variation, normal style, or having Dark Wolverine, a special style with Darkin as a Wolverine. You get the picture, right? And I didn't add this, but I was thinking about Polaris, Magneto's daughter that can also control magnetism as an alternate to Magneto, but I think that she could hold her own moveset, so I decided not to add her as a potential special style. This concept works really good for certain characters, so not every character is going to get it. And characters like Spider-Man could use this concept to the fullest, adding Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen. So, yeah, having a different voice actor, different move tweaks, a little bit, but not to completely different moveset, or else this concept is stupid because they'll count as a different character. Just the same exact moveset with maybe one super change, and that's it. That's a special style. And you can have 3 Spider-Man on your team with the same exact moveset, with maybe one little 2 moves difference, but they'll all be different types of Spider-Man, like Spider-Gwen and Miles Morales. Green Goblin can have Hobgoblin, and of course Venom can have Carnage. Like I said before, maybe not. This is kind of a glimpse into my first draft of the roster here, so you might be seeing a character that I may have cut from the roster completely, like Thanos. For Morrigan, there's obviously Lilith, and for Ryu, there's Evil Ryu, but I count that as a normal style, because we don't want to have Evil Ryu and Ryu on the same roster, because that doesn't make any sense. Just because. For everybody else there, maybe Shadow Lady for Chun-Li, but that'll be a normal style. Quickly going to Resident Evil. Having Claire Redfield on the roster is cool, and she was on the original draft of the Resident Evil character, but I replaced her with Regina, and added that as a potential special style to Chris Redfield. Like I said, this may be a huge iffy part, and I'd rather have the 68 characters than this implemented, but some of you may like this idea. But like I said, it's a bit iffy. Having different versions of Jill is a bit iffy, but having Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 2, and Resident Evil 6 Leon is definitely a possibility. I know some Devil May Cry fans may like this. Now, I do have the Devil May Cry 4 pictures and pretty much the previous versions of these characters in the Versus game. But that doesn't mean that they can't have an option to choose their Devil May Cry 5 counterpart. So, yeah, that's that. I think people will definitely love that Nero option to have them do switch between Devil May Cry 4, Nero, and 5. But like I said, I just wanted to share that. But I'm more so sticking to the big roster with less features style. And they can even have the option of letting people unlock some characters through a means of, paying $10 to unlock these 5 characters without having to unlock them to story mode or war mode or wherever the special condition are, or that you have to do that. I don't want to talk about stages for too long. I just want to briefly touch upon it and basically showcase to you what I think should be a returning stage if it gets the chance, because I like how creative they get, and I don't want to talk about that too much in this Fighting Vision episode. I like that they return to Clock Tower, Carnival Stage, Airship, maybe the Danger Room, and maybe an original stage. Just one, Genosha. Without further ado, it's time to talk about the gameplay. Alright, so there's a few things I would like to change when it comes to Marvel vs. Capcom 4. And there's a few things that I feel like might change, that I may not like, or may not change. The point is, you're going to start to see the sacrifices in having such a huge roster, at the very least of 29 on each side. But first, I would like to show you the SHINTONE Arcade stick. So when it comes to these Fighting Visions episodes from now on, if it has a game that could be associated with an arcade stick layout a little bit more, I'm going to use this layout with a special design for each and every game. A concept we talk about. So as you see, we have a Marvel vs. Capcom 1. Very simple starter one. We have a similar layout here, the control layout, to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Allow me to explain what changes. Now, compared to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, the light punch and heavy punch and light kick and heavy kick comes back. I've said before, I like the play style of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. So, I think that transferring that style from that most recent game is probably the most realistic situation here. I mean, come on. It was a very simple thing. A lot of people said the only thing they really like, including myself, I've heard a lot of people say this, that they like the gameplay and not anything else. So, that returning, instead of redoing the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 controls or 2 controls, I think that's likely. As far as calling out the assist, yes, there'll be the return of assist, crossover combinations, crossover counters, like everything that was in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 essentially, and snapbacks and all that. With the added assist buttons right here, I hope you paid attention to that, where we have assist 1, assist 2, of course, assist 3. And the EX button, what is that exactly? Now the EX here may not function similar to Street Fighter like you may think. Instead, I added it as a rushdown mode, per se, for the player at hand. So you know X Factor returns, and X Factor gives you a boost in your health, recovers your red health, and damage output to a certain extent. EX meter just unlocks the character's full potential for a limited amount of time. Everybody gets the 5 bars max, and what this does, or I essentially think it does, or it should do, is it gives the character at hand access of new moves, and essentially is a transformation mechanic, which speeds them up. And depending on the character, actually, could do a number of things. It could increase the damage as well as X Factor. Gives you, mostly the main gimmick of it though, the one thing it does for every character, I imagine, is give them brand new moves. And for a limited amount of time, or at least transform them into something else. For instance, for Ryu, if you hit the EX meter, once you fill it up by doing an attack or getting an attack, you can actually temporarily transform into Evil Ryu. Right? That's what I thought would be pretty cool. Now, imagine hitting that up, and X Factor. There has to be a consequence, because that sounds like super OP. Well, the EX Factor is individual to the character, not to everyone. So everybody has an individual EX meter to fill, while the X Factor goes for everybody. Now for a few examples here, Spider-Man, the temporarily change to a symbiote while he has his transformation on, and then will have to take it off once the bar is over. And the speed of the gauge going down and up will change for different characters. Like I just said, Evil Ryu with Ryu. Interesting one for Iron Man is having him temporarily change into the Hulkbuster costume, making him a temporary heavy body character for the time being. That sounds super interesting. And I thought it would be, considering that in the opening between Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Iron Man kind of wants the Hulkbuster suit. He's like, I kind of wish I had the Hulkbuster suit right about now when fighting Hulk, and that could be a great callback to give him the Hulkbuster suit anytime he needs to in the game. So there is a consequence from having X Factor and EX together, I would imagine. Once you're done with both meters at the same time, it would either instantly kill the character or make the character unavailable. So, I hope it sounds interesting to you. I think it could definitely work in this game. Extra moves, transformation meter. You could pull it off with the EX button, the extra moves that you need to do. Call it a day. That's what you can add to Marvel vs. Capcom 4. I mean, I think it sounds cool. Tell me, let me know what you think. That if this is a possible feature, or hey, you think that it's not that good of a feature at all. But I think it's a cool feature, especially if you bring it back just about all the snapbacks, assists, and even adding another assist button and all that. Now we are cutting straight to the end of the gold stage and going right into the community survey to give my final thoughts right here. Thank you for watching even up to this point in the video, and maybe in a few minutes after this as I give my final thoughts. This video was actually supposed to be out the day after the Kingdom Hearts video got uploaded, so we could have like double Fighting Vision episode, so people won't start thinking I have to wait another whole fucking month to get another episode. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen for the next episode. Trust me on that one. If you don't, I'll show you. Yeah, my final thoughts. I hope the EX meter to some capacity gets added. I hope the character roster is 58, and I hope this game happens. I feel like it is. I hope it is in that maze roster as well. That's one request I have to say. My name is SHINTONE. Until the next confirmation, I will be seeing you guys. Like and share if you enjoyed the video. Well, I got nothing else to say, but peace out. And I hope you enjoyed this video. What a weird ending. Does anybody even get this far? You never know, I might do a giveaway here or something. Ridiculous.
Continue.